In the early 60s, when you shot for Vogue magazine, they never put the photographer's name. They only put your surname. They only put Bailey or Beaton or Avedon. If somebody said David, I wouldn't turn around. Kind of a nice name, Bailey. Maybe I should change my name to Bailey. Catherine was funny about Bailey. Deneuve. She always said, "Why are you called Belly?" And she said, "I thought a belly was a belly."
By revolutionizing the image of women almost overnight in the early 60s, Bailey became a legend. His own image as bad boy and womanizer meant Bailey was anything but a docile servant of the system.
What do you say to people when you photograph them? I coo like a bloody dove.
I think you just sit there and just...
For over half a century, Bailey has traveled the world, often in the company of the most beautiful women, alternately photographer, filmmaker, publisher, painter, or sculptor.
Yeah, be nothing. Do nothing, yeah? You look beautiful. Okay, just lay back. Yeah, and you can put an arm up if you like. Don't worry about the clothes. Yeah, just, that's perfect. Look how beautiful you look. That's it. That's all I want.
Always eager to experiment, as if to escape the trap fashion laid for him, Bailey has made his life a picturesque score, an enigmatic exchange with women that gives him the hope of surprising himself every day that dawns.
I don't mind if you put your hand in your hair and sort of make a story, you know? Anything you like. Whatever you do is beautiful.
So we start with something and then we do something.
Well, I don't take many, because I only do about, I don't do many. I don't do click, 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 click. The photographer that's closest to me, I think, is a French photographer. I guess it's 1860s. Nada, the French photographer. And when I look at his pictures, I see my own pictures. He knew what I know, or I know what he knew, whatever. Yeah, maybe it's up from your ear, look, put your hand up. And then just tell me a story like your lover's left you, yeah? So there's a story, yeah? I mean, when I photograph people, I mean, directly they come through the door, I'm already photographing them. I mean, it's, I mean, you watch the way they move and their personality and which side of their face they prefer and all sorts of things. What kind of mood they're in. And it's like a Zen thing. I mean, if they're in a bad mood, then you encourage the bad mood. Very nice, yeah. Because then you get something from the picture. And if they're in a good mood, you encourage the good mood. It's your hair that's... Stay like that. That's why I like my pictures, because you can't really copy what I do, because I don't do anything. I just do it with dialogue, really, and talking to people. That hand's too ugly like that. Maybe just pull your scarf up. Try as you might, you want her at the end. You want something. Yeah, then! I'm not looking for anything. I'm looking for that person. I'm looking for what they have. I'm not looking for... I know what I have, you know. I know my limitations, but I want to get these people to make them look like they have no limitations. I mean, it's from them, really. Don't move, you look great. That's good. Look at me again like that. It's like, you know, I want to capture their personality. Okay, I think we got it. Okay, finished. You were great. Yeah. No. Yeah, a style is really dangerous because, I mean, you try to avoid it by, it's like being political when somebody says they're not political. I mean, the fact that they say they're not political, they're already political. So when I say I don't have any style, I do, but I don't want it. want the style to... My style is nothing. It's kind of my way of making everything minimal. This sounds really pretentious. Making everything minimal and just concentrating on the person and getting rid of everything else. It's just the person I want. That's the only thing I want. I don't want anything else. I don't want their hands. I don't want them doing this silly thing so they look like they're on the back of a book. So it makes it harder for me because I want very sophisticated passport pictures, really, which are quite hard to do.
On these windswept Devon moors, Bailey likes to reconnect with his loved ones in his country house, far from the commotion of London. Without concealing his admiration for surrealist poet André Breton, he invites us into his cabinet of curiosities.
All our new pictures have been with skulls, and now we're doing skulls and dead flowers. They're quite good, aren't they, Mark?
Yeah, great.
I know, if you think about things too much, you make them into a problem. Don't you think? Just do it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if people like it, as long as you're happy. Photography is all about death, really, because it's that's why it's the sad thing about photography, because when you look at pictures, especially old pictures, they're always dead. I mean, you look at a painting, you don't think, oh, she's dead. But you look at a photograph and you think, oh, she's dead. You know, you look at them. It's the same with pornography, you know. Pornography works much better in photography than it does in painting or illustration, because you know it actually happened. I think it's changed a bit now with digital, because now people think everyone's cheating. It's what Count Basie said when they asked him what jazz was, which is the same as saying what's art. And Count Basie said it's 4 beats to the bar and no cheating, which I try to make my pictures like that, 4 beats to the bar and no cheating. Boom, boom, boom.
Back in his London studio, Bailey receives a visit from his friend Martin Harrison, an art critic with whom he collaborated on several books. They met in 1966 when Martin became Bailey's last-minute assistant on a Vogue shoot.
Get away from the tongues, because this is based on the, you know, when the Queen goes to New Zealand and she meets the Maoris and they poke their tongue out. And I thought the tongue's the only, it's more sexual than any other piece of your body, really, because you taste with it, you
Put it up.
whatever.
Things.
Yeah.
Whatever you
Stick
do.
it in people's
Whatever
mouths.
you do with it.
I would say an important thing about Bailey in his childhood is his interest in birds. I mean, people make jokes about that because he stayed interested in what we called birds in England, of a long-legged variety.
Storks.
Storks. Storks it was. But I think identifying birds and knowing what species a bird is actually part of this close looking again that he does. And they're fleeting images, they fly off. It's a fairly natural transition to me from studying birds to being the man who captures the fleeting moment of something that happens in the world, in life, with his camera. And it's a thing that only one's known about for 15 years or something, and one didn't think of it with Bailey, but he was at school, and because he was dyslexic, I'm sure he did know he was special, he was brilliant in some way. He knew he was brilliant, and they told him he was the opposite, he was really stupid. And I think that a lot of what he's achieved is born out of the frustration of, like, I will show them then. And he had to work out his own way, and I think it's highly significant. I mean, he's Britain's greatest photographer. It's a visual medium. He looks through here. He doesn't have to say words. The words are in the camera, the words are in the image, the words can be written about it by weird people like me who've got nothing better to do. So in a way, I think it's important. It's like the photograph of him when he's in the Royal Air Force, and he's probably still a teenager then, a little bit later on. And he's sitting there on his bed with a Picasso on the wall. People who come from an educated artistic background would probably not get how important this is. How rare, how unique it was that someone like Bailey from the East End of London would have a Picasso by his bed. I mean, from the beginning, in a way, he found this possibility to be incredibly articulate via visual images. He found a way to condense and simplify and compress and get the message across really, really rapidly. And it's like that Paul Valéry thing about it's the, just the essence of the idea.
I was an assistant to a fashion photographer called John French. He wasn't a great photographer, but he was a kind, nice man. I guess the thing I got from him was the white background, because he used the white background a lot. I thought, this is smart. And then he helped me a lot to work for, he got me a job doing pictures for the Daily Express. And then Vogue saw the pictures, and then they offered me a contract. So that's how, and I was only an assistant, I think, for 11 months with him. Homosexuality was sort of against the law then, and John French was homosexual, and the art director, John Parsons, at Vogue was homosexual. So there was a certain outsiderness about them. They were outside society. And I think in those days, working class were sort of outside of society. And so I think they accepted me because I was an outsider like them. And I think that kind of helped in the beginning. Because John Parsons, being homosexual, kind of liked the idea of someone from the working class working for Vogue. And I hope he liked my pictures as well, but it was, I think it was an outsider thing.
Well, I mean, his early success in the 60s is still, you can think up explanations for it, but it is a phenomenon. Because for all that he was attractive and the fashion editors liked him, some of them anyway, he was unpolished and raw, but Vogue, people think of fashion magazines as avant-garde. Well, of course, they're the homes of conservatism. They're not remotely avant-garde. They're always behind everything, and people have a misperception about that. And so, as the 60s, there was this feeling of something happening in London, and Vogue, as usual, was behind, and it was ruled over by these old editors who, we can't have this on Vogue, It's like the old BBC or something. It was full of all sorts of covert censorship. So the fact that he did thrive there is really, it is quite a phenomenon, because it's not totally easy to account for. except that they knew they were falling behind. They knew that the average age of their readership was moving down as young people started to, for the first time in England, to have money to spend. And this is a thing this is the usual commercial market-driven thing. I mean, this is all about, as Bailey puts it, shifting frocks. You know, it's a clothes-selling business. He understood about all of the coded language of the clothing as well. So when these fashion editors thought, who is this foul-mouthed young man who's just trying to get the model into bed? But he delivered the goods, you know. He gave them wonderful pictures. It is quite simple in one sense. He came out with this picture which was, you know, graphically much more dynamic than his competitors, the other young photographers who might have wanted to be #1 in London, and they weren't, you know.
Good. Make that, no, David, who told you to move? Go back to where you were. Come on, back to where you were. Good, and that flipping hand. Yeah, good, there, that's good. Now stay like that, and bring this, slowly, bring this hand down, more, and put it there. Go on, no, lower down on your thigh, whatever it's called. Good, good. And look at me like that. Don't twist away, just keep where you are. Good girl. Good, there. That's lovely.
It's rather tender. I mean, this is that other side of Bailey. This is the bird-watching side. There is a more sensitive side to the beast. But I absolutely know for a fact, and I have it from contemporary witnesses who are probably now dead, that it genuinely was perceived in London as being something revolutionary. And I just think it's because, first of all, she's not standing and she's not looking haughty, she's kneeling over in this way, and there's a squirrel, you know, a stuffed squirrel, dead squirrel, rather awkward. It's like a Monty Python sketch, isn't it? But there it is, and that's somewhat, it was perceived as undermining of a haughty, upper middle class way of approaching fashion, with women with their heads cocked like this, you know, looking like this. It was indeed undermining of that, and it was a very bold move for this very young beginner.
I'd already been playing with photography since I was about 11 or 12, because I used to like the magic of the chemicals. It was nothing artistic. It was just, and I just had my mother's brownie. And then I saw this picture when I was about 17, I guess, of Cartier-Bresson, of these 3 or 4, 5 ladies overlooking the Himalayas, I guess, or I don't know, definitely in northern India by the looks of it. And it made such an impact, this picture, that I thought there's more to photography than I realized. And I guess this picture showed me that photography could have the same depth as painting, and I never really considered it before. The first visual I remember are Hollywood movies. I love the way they used to light things, like, even as a kid I was fascinated by John Ford movies and Hitchcock for sure. And then later I liked very much the French New Wave, and then the Italians, you know, like, I like very much Fellini, who suffocated you with bad taste, and then Visconti, that suffocated you with good taste. My biggest influence, in a funny sort of way, was Picasso. The thing that Picasso taught me was there's no rules. He taught me that a circle doesn't have to be round, which was a good lesson. Pleased to meet you. Okay, that's a great look. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love you, Samantha. Yeah, good. Chin up a bit. So many Samanthas in my life at the moment. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Didn't you ever see High Society? Grace Kelly? She's called Samantha. And she's so beautiful. And you look beautiful, so you're Samantha. I thought you'd work that one out.
I'll be Samantha then.
I photographed her a couple of times. Well, she was a bitch. Good.
Look, devastating. Okay, still devastator. Good, wonderful, kid. Yeah, still. That's beautiful, isn't it? Isn't she beautiful? Good, I love you, darling. You're great. Good, don't move.
When everything falls up.
In 1960, Bailey fell, professionally and personally, for the amazing photogenic potential of Jean Shrimpton, a fragile, slightly gauche young model.
I think most talent is inborn. So Jean had an advantage because she was very beautiful. With Jean, she didn't scare people, like my wife or Christy Turlington there. She was attractive to everybody, from dogs to intellectuals. I mean, she had one of those democratic, I don't know what you call it, democratic beauty that everybody could appreciate. Possibly she could live next door. I mean, some women are so beautiful you can't believe they live next door. You know, they live in some fantasy world.
So, I mean, it was a two-way thing. I mean, she looked wonderful and people thought she did and people wanted her. So, of course, it was helpful to Bailey. And I'm sure he got to do some things because the magazine wanted Jean Shrimpton. She was the face of the time, you know. One of the most sustained examples of that is his first ever big foreign trip for Vogue was to New York, which is where he really wanted to go because he was such a great jazz fan, another one of his differences all through his life. And he really, for him, the bonus was to get to see some of the great jazz men in the clubs in New York that he'd admired. But he was with Jean Shrimpton, who he was in love with then, and his idea was just to photograph her on the streets of New York. By sort of 1963, his style was getting settled into something more generally studio-orientated, usually on a plain background. And the movement, the areas of it that broke it down from, say, icy perfection would be movements of limbs subtly done, the way a leg protruded forward, graphic things that he understood very well and got very quickly, but always usually some contact between him and the girl, which I guess is through the eyes from the woman, as you must say now, which was sexually charged. I mean, someone else may interpret them differently, but they don't seem... There is a kind of respect, I think, a genuine one, for the woman in there still.
Well, come on, I haven't got anything more to say. I've said me lot twice.
At the height of his fame, Bailey flirted briefly with film and planned an adaptation of A Clockwork Orange with the Rolling Stones. He fulfilled his movie-making dream with Gigi Passion, a very personal short film inspired by Cocteau's The Blood of a Poet that tells the story of a rock star chased to his death. Quite naturally, Bailey found himself at the heart of the British cultural revolution while keeping his distance from the new celebrity lifestyle. Except for his friendship with Mick Jagger, his relationship with the stars of swinging London rarely went beyond an intense half-hour's work in his studio.
So when his box of pin-ups came out, I mean, we're back to this kind of British, probably high Tory moral panic, you know. It was only a year or so since the Lady Chatterley trials, you know, and another one of our famous events, which is a kind of marker of an old order gradually being removed in a way, and old censorships and so on. And there was indeed a lot of reaction at the time because you had royalty in the shape of Lord Snowdon and some of our major criminals, the Cray brothers, in the same book, you know.
I spent 2 weeks with them, but then we couldn't use the pictures because there was a court case, so we had to change the story. But that's as simple as that, really. They were just a part of my youth, really, because people didn't see much difference between the police or the gangsters in the East End. They were pretty much the same thing.
Bailey takes us, along with his assistant Mark and daughter Paloma, to the street in London's East End where he grew up, now a Bangladeshi neighborhood.
It's where I spent my joyous childhood. When I was that big, I suppose 6, I went to see Bambi, you know, I think small cartoons in the cinema. And then one of Hitler's V-2 rockets destroyed the cinema at Upton Park. From that moment on, I thought Hitler had killed Bambi and Mickey Mouse and everybody. See, this was all bomb flat. These are all bomb buildings. He was the devil. When I was bad, they didn't say the devil will get you or the bogeyman will get you. They said Hitler will get you. Who is this Hitler guy? And he was just a name. I didn't realize he was one of the biggest arseholes of all time. See, that's where my mum used to look out the window. And that's where I spent most of the war, down that hole. Yeah.
Who's this room?
That was my mother's bedroom.
Okay, and then when you were in the top floor at the back?
Well, when we first moved in, we only had the ground floor. This wall was all broken down. That wall wasn't there.
So the cellar where you did the your black and white processing and scratched it against the wall?
And I stole those angel wings from a church, and I hid them down there. They're probably still down there.
You stole from a church, Bailey?
Well, it's bombed. Later, I tried to photograph me looking like Chet Baker when I was about 16, because I wanted to look like Chet Baker. Because Chet Baker was my hero. Chet Baker and James Dean, I guess. I think he was charming, my father. I didn't know him that much. I never saw him that much. He was always scallywagging, up to no good, I think, with women. And my mother was kind of like a tough old gypsy. She even looked like a gypsy.
(1965). French actress Catherine Deneuve marries David Bailey in London.
Je me souviens, ça avait choqué beaucoup de gens parce que j'étais habillée en noir. Et je me souviens parce que ce mariage s'est fait quand même assez rapidement. C'était un mariage assez romantique qui s'est fait vraiment en quelques mois, quelques semaines. D'ailleurs, il n'y avait que ma sœur qui était là de ma famille, qui était bon témoin d'ailleurs. Et comme il faisait pas beau, j'avais dit je me fais faire la même robe en blanc et la même robe en noir. C'est mon premier mariage et le seul mariage d'ailleurs que j'ai fait. Et donc j'étais, s'il fait beau, je m'habille en blanc, mais s'il pleut, je me mets en noir. Parce qu'en blanc, à Londres, et il a plu, donc la mariée était en noir, voilà. Mais c'était très gai, un peu mouvementé, parce que c'est Mick Jagger qui était le témoin de David. Donc évidemment, tout ça a créé un peu de... Arsène Pancras, c'était un peu agité. Et puis la vie a vite repris le dessus, parce que j'étais même sidérée, mais c'est que le lendemain de notre mariage, David reprenait déjà le studio. Je dis, mais comment ça? On part même pas 48 heures. Ah non, 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 j'ai un reportage très important à faire. Je vais faire des photos de mode pour Vogue. Et voilà, le lendemain, il était déjà en studio. Mais ce qui m'a fasciné surtout, c'était sa fantaisie et son regard, son côté un peu... Moi, j'aime bien le côté excentrique des Anglais. Il est assez excentrique quand même. Alors, la première fois que je suis allée chez lui, je m'avais dit qu'il avait beaucoup d'oiseaux, mais je me disais, bon, beaucoup d'oiseaux, bon. Et je suis arrivée donc à Gloucester Avenue où il habitait, et j'ai entendu ce bruit, j'avais l'impression de rentrer dans une maternité tellement ça piaillait, mais du bas en haut. Et vraiment, les oiseaux, c'était comme des bébés. Ça piaillait vraiment comme des bébés. Et j'étais un peu assommée hein, sur le moment. J'étais un peu assommée parce que je suis allée tout le sous-sol, tout le rez-de-chaussée. Je trouve qu'il y a beaucoup de rigueur. Beaucoup de rigueur, beaucoup de force dans ces photos. Et quelque chose d'animal. Même quand il photographie des femmes, des jeunes femmes, des mannequins, quelque chose d'animal que j'aime beaucoup dans ses photos. Quelque chose qui lui échappe un peu quand même aussi, qui est lui mais qui lui échappe par moments. Quelque chose que j'aime moi chez les hommes, quelque chose qui ont gardé quelque chose de leur enfance plutôt. Il est quand même, bon c'est vrai si on pense à Avdon, à Penn, qui ont fait des... Il y a quelque chose de plus viscéral chez David. Il était très lié avec ma sœur. Et elle l'aimait énormément, il l'aimait beaucoup aussi. Et ça, c'est vrai que ça qui a compté dans notre histoire. Encore aujourd'hui, c'est une chose dont on ne parle pas, mais c'est quelque chose qui m'unit à lui d'une façon très, très profonde. Pour moi, c'était le dernier homme que j'aurais connu, qui aurait connu ma sœur. Et oui.
Je fais quelquefois des photos de mode. Aujourd'hui, je travaille avec David Bailey.
It's a clear exaggeration to portray Bailey as a Pygmalion-type figure, or to claim that women made him. However, Antonioni drew heavily on his life to create the character of fashion photographer Thomas, who was dragged into a murder case.
I didn't know Antonioni. It wasn't Antonioni's idea to do Blow Up. It was Carlo Ponti. And Carlo Ponti sent 2 people to see me at Vogue Studios. And I don't know, I was 24 or something, and he said, these 2 Italian men came in, they looked like mafia. And they said, do you want to make a movie? And I said, yeah, sure. What are we doing, a remake of Citizen Kane?
Again, good.
And they said, no, do you want to make a movie about a photographer? I said, sure. You know, at that age, you do anything. You remake Ivan the Terrible. And we talked, you know, how bad, their bad English. And then they said, well, about the way I dressed. I said, what's the way I dressed got anything to do with anything? And then I realized they wanted me to be in the movie, to play the part. I said, no, you must be crazy. I mean, I can't remember a telephone number the right way around, let alone do a dialogue of script. So that was the end of that. I didn't know how they knew so many details in Blow Up, you know, like how they knew I paid £8 for the propeller. I've still got the propeller. It's in the country, in the storeroom. And 10 years after Blow Up, I was doing a book with box pin-ups, in fact, with Francis Wyndham, journalist for the Sunday Times. He was drinking, and he said, Bailey, I got a confession. He said, I wrote the 200-page synopsis for Antonioni. So that suddenly cleared it up. I said, why'd you tell me before? He said, I was too embarrassed. I said, I don't care. I mean, if you make a few bob, good luck to you. I mean, I didn't care you wrote it. But that's the story, really, not very interesting. Let's play tennis.
If Blow Up prefigured the disillusionment of the late 60s, Bailey echoed it in his way in a new series of portraits published under the title Goodbye Baby and Amen. Next, he launched into a series of documentaries.
That's marvelous, Penelope, just like that. Good. Your fingers straighter. I want you to look ecstatic. You must be inspired. The Demoiselle Leleu. Don't smile. No, very serious.
See, what I like about Cecil, he's got a great deal of the outrageous in him. I mean, he insists on the outrageous. He likes all the limits, doesn't he?
Well, he certainly goes to extremes.
Yes.
He can be extremely kind or extremely rude.
But he's very positive. He's not a negative person. He loves. It's very easy for him to love.
He positively loves you or he positively hates you.
I don't want to be interviewed about my private life.
Good. What do you want to be asked? What would you like me to ask you?
Nothing.
If you could change anything in your life,
Would you change anything the way you've lived?
No, it's too late now to change anything in my life, you know.
More move.
You have to move? Ah, not backwards. No, it's enough now, no? I think.
I've got enough. It's up to...
I mean, when you were, say, 6 or 7, did you have fantasies?
No, when I was more 20.
But did you have sort of fantasies? There's some questions here. What were your fantasies when you were a child? Was Elvis Presley your fantasy?
No, I used to play with dolls.
Hello? Andy? Yeah? It's me. What's pop art? Well, just what I asked you. What is it? I'm very confused.
In the future, everyone will be world famous for 15 minutes.
Why do you keep your clothes on?
I'm afraid to look at my scars, so I always just jump into bed.
Your scars?
Yeah.
Can we talk about your scars?
Oh, yeah.
That was from when you got shot, your accident, yeah?
Yeah.
It must have been awful.
Oh, no, I look like a Dior dress.
He's good on his super go, isn't he? They speak to people by radio, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they do the bike taxis in London.
Yeah, look at that cloud, Mark. It's sort of perfect. If you...
Good line.
Yeah, it's only good for live action. It's not good for stills.
No.
Look, perfect. John Ford would have liked that.
With the soul of a reporter whose worst fear is boredom and going through the motions in studio, Bailey has traveled the world since the early 70s like an explorer of the often tragic human condition.
If I ever go to places like that to do pictures, I always try and do them straight away, because after a week there, you kind of get used to things. It's, so directly I'm off the plane. Usually the most interesting images, the ones that you do immediately, because you haven't been tamed by what you're seeing. It's still all new and wild.
You see this pony here? Yeah. It's the remains of the pit ponies.
Yeah.
Where they've got the short, stumpy little legs.
Oh, okay.
It's not a Dartmoor pony.
No, they're going to disappear, aren't they?
Mm.
You get inspiration from things that are not your thing. It's good to move out of your own environment sometimes. I mean, I've done documentary things, but it's usually for charity. It's a bit odd going somewhere to be paid to go and photograph starving people. I mean, I did it for Mother Teresa in India. I did it for UNESCO or somebody in Ethiopia. I did it in the Sudan. Depressing pictures. I mean, but, you know, dying babies. And when back in the afternoon they were dead. But it's, I always never charge for those pictures. But, you know, somebody standing next to me would get the same picture. So it's just documentation, really. Everything in life bounces off, doesn't it? It's sort of everything is everything. It's sort of, the more you see, the more you accumulate.
Spring 2010. Working for a charity, Bailey flies out on a mission with British troops stationed in Afghanistan.
The reason I did the song and the reason I wanted to do charity, one of the reasons, it was very personal, because I've got 2 sons who are more or less that age, or becoming that age. One is the age and one's becoming that age, that could be sent there to fight and to be maimed. And I thought it was, as much as I'm against wars, I think it's a worthwhile thing to do anything you can to help those guys. They liked the idea that I'd been in the Air Force, you know, gave me a kind of, let's you join the club, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah, and this is the only flower I think I saw in Afghanistan. Beautiful. Floma, can you bring down a box of bones? They're the bones with the skull in it. They're upstairs in the... thing. My only problem is the race against death. You know, I got the Reaper on my time. That's why I say all the best things are accidents. How can you be creative? You have to have an accident. But it's the accident that's exciting. I mean, I suppose in a way you can set up the accident and then hope it'll happen.
We need a lizard reel.
I think if the photographer's good, the reality is in the photographer's mind. If it's just someone going snap, it's just a document. It's not even. The other day, I suddenly realised I'd taken a picture that looked like an Irving Penn picture. It was just putting a skull on top of a skull. And I actually did it to imitate a John Lennon picture of John Lennon and Paul McCartney with the head above it. And I thought, if I put the skull on top of the skull, it looked like John and Paul. There you go, Joe. It's gone again. So it's odd how sometimes you arrive at the same destination without not starting from the same point or not starting from anywhere, really. It looks great. It's definitely death. You know what, it doesn't look like anything I've seen before either. It's not harping back to any kind of, no, I meant the last picture. It's not harping back to any kind of reference, you know, it's completely photography. It's all about the past, really, because the flowers die. The skulls become nature's sculptures, because that's the ultimate sculpture in the end. It's the skull or the skeleton of birds or people. So they're kind of portraits of skulls in a way.
Back once more to his London studio, a refuge far removed from the pain of the world, where Bailey lives and works surrounded by the people he loves. This morning, his friend Jerry Hall pays him a visit.
Okay.
I love that, too. I've never seen that.
Oh, that was for a charity I did.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Mickey Mouse as Hitler.
It was Charlie Chaplin.
No, it was Hitler, but I pretend it was Charlie Chaplin. You started with me when you were 16, you bitch.
I know. But you know, I've only.
Are you a virgin?
Wanted the... Darling, don't you remember?
Women are strange animals.
Yeah. Well, I know.
Still trying to work it out.
I think you got lucky this time.
I was lucky every time.
Well, I know.
They're all great.
I know. But this one's lasted an awful long time.
Yeah. Lucky girl.
And 3 children. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I have a great time working with him. I love working with him. He makes me laugh. The day goes by very nicely. It's pleasant. The thing about Bailey is he's not someone who, you know, he has dyslexia, so he's not very articulate. It's not about words. It's about instinct, and it's about his vision. And, you know, so he works more, you know, in watching, paying close attention. And when he's looking at you, you feel what he's looking. You feel more beautiful, more sexy. You start to feel, you know, it's a very intuitive business being photographed, you know. It's not something you can talk and say, okay, do this, do that, because it's a different part of your brain, you know. It's the magic part. And Bailey's very good at that, you know. There's a kind of silence, a kind of silent language that goes on between a model and a photographer, you know. You know, it's like when someone loves you, that it brings out the best in you, you know, when you feel the look of someone who loves you.
This is just a test.
You just sort of blossom, you know, and I think that happens with a great photographer, with Bailey. I think he adores women and he adores beauty, and I think he admires it so much that he
brings it out in you.
That's one of my ex-wives. That's Marie Helvin. Angelica. It's beautiful, that picture. It's beautiful. Women, Jean Shrimpton, have changed my life, which is an obvious thing to say, but somehow different. I can see how my photography changed with different women, which is odd. Jerry with helmet. Guy to put on her shoes. Really odd. But I think if you think too much about these things, you become too self-conscious, and so you've got to avoid that. And as you get older, you don't care anyway. Who cares? And my mum.
I don't know. I think it's very flattering to be a muse to a great photographer, a great artist. I think it's wonderful, kind of magical. Makes you immortal in some way.
Go on, Kate. She's so beautiful, Kate Moss, isn't she? She's so beautiful without being beautiful. It's amazing. She's just beautiful. Like, she's the only one that's like Jean Shrimpton. Only known 2 models that were like this. Jean Shrimpton and Kate Moss. They're unique. You can't understand it. I can't understand it. It's like nothing that special about the Mona Lisa. But, yeah, it's a painting. But it's got something you can't explain. Yeah, why? I'm so lucky because in my personal, so I got such a great wife. She's the opposite to a midget. She's a bit too tall, in fact. But it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Maybe, besides being born. Oh, the what's it tree should be all right. The magnolia. Mark, have you seen the magnolia? Well, she's a beauty in the classical sense. She's a sort of Roman beauty, really. There's deeper ones. I mean, there's the Sistine Chapel, the long, you know, the Sistine Chapel Museum of Busts. She's got the long neck and the big eyes, the smallish head. So she just looks like one of those Roman busts to me. I mean, and you take your glasses off. Something you can't put your finger on. A mystery. It's the mystery, really. Right. Good. Yeah. A bit silly doing this. This is a graveyard. Lots of dead people in here. Welcome. That's her father. He's turned into a
magnolia tree.
Magnolia tree.
Called Star Wars.
Is it called
Star Wars? It's called Star Wars, yeah.
I brought these back in the same helicopter, Mark.
The ferns?
No, these great big Monterey pines.
Catherine, is David a good father?
I'm a husband, not a father.
Yes, he is. As long as they do what they're told, you are, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Ask if I'm a good lover, not if I'm a good father. Look at this pig.
But I'm a lover.
He's going to see it in a minute, isn't he?
Yeah. I think life's the main subject in Bailey's work. He does everything.
It says F38 on here.
His curiosity is endless.
Yeah. God, the French Revolution would have loved your fucking neck, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
He wants to know everything. And he's, even if he goes to the doctor, he won't go and talk about what's wrong with him. He wants to know about the doctor. He wants to know everything. He wants to know everything about everyone, the questions he asks. And I'm always amazed people answer them. I think because he has the curiosity in a way of a child. And questions, they're not insulting, they're questions.
Just like click, click, and then do it. In fact, the extraordinary is probably less exciting than the ordinary, because you can always find something interesting in the ordinary. You know, people say, who's the most interesting person you've ever photographed? Everybody I photograph is interesting if you want to look into them and find out more about them. I mean, I'm just happy to wake up every day so I can find out something new. Oh, I love that. Well, that's like a cock and a cunt. Fucking big cunt. Good.
He has a way of making it seem flippant. But one thing, he's not a joker. He takes what he does very, very seriously. And I think that's part of it. And it's the dedication and working all the time, working at it. And he's never satisfied. It's always a disappointment. So he just wants to do better. His disappointment doesn't make him give up. It makes him do more.
Hang on, I'll tell you what I do. See that, man? Yeah? Perfect. Now, really quick. Go ahead. You have to be really quick. Change immediately. Immediately. And look straight at me.
When everything falls apart and all disappears and you hold me in your arms.
Next this evening, stay with us as we take to the skies for the real-life story of Pan Am.
I want this feeling. I want this feeling to linger.